Hello, dear friends. By the end of the night, everybody was tired and went back home. Opinion piece. At the end of the night, bright horizon, Sinister Friday the 13th. Cobra got the word right. June 25th conjunction. Prophecy of the end of darkness. Friday the 13th, Templar connection. Brotherhood of the Rose, call for peace. Let's start. At the end of the night signifies the outcome or conclusion of a situation after a period of uncertainty, difficulty or waiting. It means that the most important thing has passed, such as the closure of an event, a situation, or even a period of war in humankind. The forces of light are clearing a very dark network about which nothing has been said until now. This network comes from another universe, is the primary source of the cosmic evil, and is intertwined with the larger, darker, and dark energy, according to Cobra. Dark energy is a force that gives rise to matter in creation. It's a force of devolution and directly opposes involution and directly opposes ascension. All aspect of dark energy is subquantum entangled with the larger and actively suppresses free will. The forces of light have already eliminated the vast majority of dark matter anomalies and also the vast majority of dark matter plasmoid beings. The forces of light are clearing this aspect of the anomaly and are making good progress. However, this period of clearing is very frustrating, and not much progress is expected until June 25th, when we will reach the compression front of the Shockwave, as the density of the dark energy anomaly will then drop below the critical threshold. Shockwave cosmology was proposed by Joel Smoller and Blake Temple in 2003. In this model, the Big Bang would be an explosion inside the black hole, producing the expanding volume of space and matter that includes the observable universe. According to Smoller and Temple's calculations, we are still inside an expanding black hole. The configuration of flat Minkowski spacetime inside the black hole also occurs during the moments of black hole formation from a collapsing star. Over time, according to this cosmology, the mass of our expanding volume of space and matter will decrease in density as it expands. At some point, the black hole's event horizon will cease to exist. An external observer will then see it as a white hole. Matter will then continue to expand. Prediction. The contact in Cobra was correct the day before regarding Israel's attack on Iran on Friday the 13th in an article titled End of the Darkness. Specifically, on June 12th, he said, some sources claim that the war will begin on Friday, June 13th, as a warning to the positive Templars to cease their activities. They intend to unleash a war between Israel and Iran. In his opinion, the main problem is the 13th Illuminati bloodline, also known as the Brotherhood of Death, since only those who have taken the life of a human being are accepted into that network, as they are under the direct influence of cosmic evil. According to Fritz Springmeier, in his book Bloodlines of the Illuminati, there are 13 families of bloodlines that control major world events and direct the so-called New World Order. Within this narrative, the 13th bloodline is considered the most important and mysterious of all. According to Springmeier and other like-minded authors, this bloodline is considered an imitation or mockery of divine royalty. The term Brotherhood of Death is sometimes associated with the 13th Illuminati bloodline, although it can also refer to secret societies such as Skull and Bones, a fraternity at Yale University that has been the subject of many theories about its influence on the global elite. In this context, the Brotherhood of Death would be a symbolic name for the most hidden and powerful bloodline, charged with preserving the secrets and directing the most esoteric rituals within the sinister structure. Conjunction. On June 25th, we will have a very strong quadruple conjunction of the Moon, the Sun, Jupiter, and Kuiper Belt object called Chaos. This will be the starting point that will begin to clear the remaining anomaly very quickly. From that moment on, small advances may occur. From then until mid-July, Neptune will be in opposition with the galaxy M87. This energy will bring about a purification of the astral plane around the planet's surface, imbuing it with energies of cosmic love. This aspect will be reinforced by the Sirius Pulse, a very gentle energy coming from the Sirius star system, which will make the purification more gentle of the astral plane. Then, on July 7th, Uranus will enter Gemini and will conjunct Alcyone on July 15th. This energy will also allow positive extraterrestrial races, especially the Pleiadians, to participate more directly in preparing for the opening of the Inanmar Succession portal later this year. As we approach that great portal, changes are already being observed in the galaxy. The Galactic Central Race, in cooperation with the Galactic Confederation, has begun to activate the ancient beacons that lay dormant for hundreds of millions of years through the galaxy, awaiting the moment when the prophecy of the end of darkness will be fulfilled. These beacons are beginning to transmit cosmic love energy, now emanating from the M87 galaxy. There are also similar beacons within this solar system and underground of this planet, but they are not yet active. Call for peace. The Brotherhood of the Rose also calls for the peace in Europe. All the war zones on the planet trace their origins back to the time of Atlantis. Therefore, the overall situation also reflects those past times and their events. It is no coincidence that both world wars occurred in Europe, and the tendency toward a threat reappears in this sacred land, which we wish to preserve as a heritage of the Divine Mother, because this land remains her heritage despite everything. We know that in Atlantis there was a division between the Dark Lords and the White Nobility, and that they separated their territories by demarcation lines. I believe the border ran exactly between Eastern and Western Europe from north to south, very close to the Iron Curtain. The Berlin Wall was erected exactly on that ancient demarcation line. Consciousness. Securing consciousness and perception is the coalition's top priority. In a world where a hidden cabal wields power by shaping what people believe and how they practice and how they perceive reality, the coalition must first reclaim the minds of humankind before achieving ultimate breakthrough. Winning people's minds comes first, because beliefs drive behavior. Without a shared perception, any material of political gain crumbles under resistance. It is far more effective to align minds than to coerce bodies. Beliefs drive behavior. People act on what they believe to be true, possible, or available. If you control the narrative in people's minds, you direct their decisions long before you need tanks, money, or laws. If the cabal's worldview is not challenged, its supporters will fight tooth and nail against any material takeover. By first dismantling the cabal's cognitive strongholds, the coalition neutralizes ideological opposition before they can mobilize. Once perception is secured, it becomes much easier to control or influence the media, finance, and the government. These systems will naturally reflect the prevailing consciousness. Origin of the cabal's consciousness control matrix. Pre-flood civilization and advanced knowledge. Humanity once possessed Atlantean-level technology and profound spiritual wisdom. Positive and negative interdimensional beings freely interacted with Earth. The Cabal's first move was to erase this history and hide all evidence. Humankind was held hostage to impose universal containment, and all direct contact with benevolent races of light, or forces of light, was blocked. Remaining sources of ancient knowledge were systematically sought out and destroyed. Trauma-based programming and collective amnesia. Cabal agents infiltrated societies to inflict widespread abuse and terror. A massive trauma fractured collective memory and caused species-wide amnesia. Without cultural or spiritual anchors, people became easily manipulated. Reinforcement of quarantine through invasions. Dark entities repeatedly entered Earth to reinforce the Matrix. Each incursion deepened humanity's isolation from its light allies. Civilization resets and floods. Catastrophic events such as worldwide floods were orchestrated or exploited to erase all history. These resets erased almost all traces of a pre-Dark Age paradise. Conventional history became a tiny, distorted fragment of actual events. Domination of knowledge centers. Control of all religions consolidated spiritual authority under the Cabal. Emerging governments, universities, and guilds were founded by Cabal agents. Official history was rewritten to reinforce the Matrix. Creation of networks and secret orders. Empires and nobility were directed through spy networks, armed with ancient knowledge and skills above the general population. The Jesuit order was founded as an intelligence gathering arm under religious cover. Fraternities, think tanks, and academies emerged to recruit, train, and replace Cabal loyalists around the world. In short, if a hidden group began consolidating control in prehistory, learned to exploit human psychology, and then quietly took over all important institutions. The Matrix we see today is not far-fetched but the predictable result of a patient and systematic influence over the centuries. Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th and the Templar connection. At dawn of Friday, October 13th, 1307, troops invaded all the Knights Templar commanderies in France. Some 15,000 men were arrested and chained. This was only the beginning of the horror that was about to be unleashed upon these crusading soldiers monks who had prospered during the 12th century. Accusations of heresy subsequently led to torture at the hands of inquisitors and ultimately death. All of this was instigated by a man who owed his life to the Templars. Philip IV of France was deeply in debt. The war with England has emptied his coffers. At first, he attempted to solve his financial problems by banishing Jews from French territories, so he could confiscate their property. Afterward, he expelled the Lombard bankers and expropriated their properties. His attention then turned to the church, which, with its excessive holdings and expensive relics. As a result, he became embroiled in an argument with Pope Boniface VIII and attempted to have the pontiff arrested. Boniface escaped but died soon after. This paved the way for Philip to install his own man as head of the church, and Pope Clement V duly appointed and installed him in Avignon, an enclave surrounded by controlled by French territories. Philip might have had the Pope in his pocket, but his debt had destabilized the French economy. The poor suffered and someone had to pay. Riots broke out in Paris, and the king, fleeing for his life, scavenged the Templar preceptory in Paris. The losses in the Holy Land put an end to the Templar Crusades, and they had turned to banking, which they did with great success. Such was their success that they were able to grant substantial loans to none other than Philip and the King of France. It was time for Clement to settle the debt he owed to the king, and on Philip's orders, the Pope dissolved the Knights Templar. However, the plan failed. Somehow, the Templars learned that something was wrong. While carrying out the arrests, Philip's men discovered that the treasury was empty. Furthermore, the Templar fleet in La Rochelle had sailed at midnight the previous night, and its destination was unknown. Breaking news. Radioactive contamination exists inside the Natanz nuclear facility following the attack. Radioactive contamination occurred inside the facility, but there was no contamination outside, according to Iran. Israel begins deploying troops in all combat arenas. Oil prices soar and stocks fall after the attack. Israel created a drone base near Tehran to carry out its attack. Iraq accuses Israel of using its airspace to attack Iran. The attacks represent an attempt to derail negotiations between the US and Iran. Trump claims that Iranian representatives are calling him and want to talk after the Israeli attacks. They lost the opportunity to reach an agreement. Now they might have another chance, he said. According to Scott Ritter, the US lulled Iran into sleep with the deception of nuclear talks, allowing Israel to attack. Trump reportedly gave Israel the green light to attack Iran. The information reported by Axios was attributed to senior Israeli officials. The US gave Israel the green light to attack Iran, the Persian foreign minister said. President Trump admitted to having advanced knowledge of the attacks. Iran will not participate in upcoming nuclear negotiations with the US. The talks have been suspended until further notice, as have diplomatic efforts seeking to restrict Iran's nuclear program. The UK on the brink of social unrest. People are fed up. Britain is at the crossroads. Silence is no longer an option. Friday the 13th, solar storm. A core-rotating interaction region arrived earlier than expected on June the 13th and struck Earth's magnetic field, triggering a geomagnetic storm. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.